Welcome to The Explainer. Let's jump right in, because today we're looking at a story that completely flips a very common professional script on its head. A few years ago, the author of our source material met a sales rep named Daniel, and Daniel completely changed the way they thought about selling. He didn't just tweak their perspective, he totally shattered it. Today, we're going to break down exactly how Daniel operated and why his counterintuitive approach is something every single one of us can learn from, no matter what industry we're in.
To really get why Daniel was so incredibly effective, we first have to look at what he wasn't. When you think of a typical salesperson, who comes to mind? Usually it's someone loud, fast, and pushy, right? We all picture the loudest person in the room, talking a mile a minute, pushing hard, and closing with these flashy, rehearsed lines. But Daniel? When the author first watched him work, their immediate reaction was that he was almost too calm. He was incredibly patient. He was just totally different.
Let's set the scene here. The author was working with a company that was deeply unhappy with their current supplier. This team had been absolutely bombarded by sales pitches for weeks, and every single vendor walked in and said the exact same thing: we're faster, cheaper, and better. But Daniel, he completely ignored that standard playbook. He did something highly unusual. He didn't begin with a polished product demo. He didn't start throwing out pricing options. Actually, he didn't even talk much about the features of his product at all. Instead of pitching, he looked at them and asked one single question. What is this problem costing you every week that it stays unsolved? So just let that sink in for a second. The energy in that room completely changed. He wasn't talking about his product. He was asking about their pain. The immediate fallout of that one question was absolutely incredible. The client's leaders just opened up. One leader admitted that delays were actively hurting their production. Another confessed that their team was losing trust. A third leader chimed in and admitted they had already wasted months trying to fix the issue in-house. And while they poured all this out, Daniel just listened. He took notes. He asked follow-up questions. You see, he wasn't trying to impress them with his knowledge. He was genuinely trying to understand them. As the author noted, that meeting didn't feel like a sales call at all. It felt exactly like a medical diagnosis.
Which brings us to a crucial point, this totally new definition of sales we're looking at today. The philosophy Daniel lived by is that the best salespeople do not actually sell products. Instead, they do three things. They reduce pain, they create clarity, and they help people make a confident decision. This is a massive paradigm shift. It takes the focus entirely off the person selling and puts it 100% on the person buying.
This builds a pretty stark contrast. Most people think sales is fundamentally about persuasion. They really believe the winner is the person who speaks the most confidently, handles every single objection perfectly, and just pushes the hardest at the very end. But real sales? It's not about pressure. Real sales is about trust. People don't buy because they were talked into it or backed into a corner. They buy because they feel deeply understood. The job isn't to force a decision, it's to guide a decision that already matters to the client.
So how do we actually do that? How did Daniel put this philosophy into practice? Well, he operated on 5 core principles. Here's his framework. Diagnose, make the customer the hero, practice honest selling, prioritize value over features, and view the sale as a long-term partnership. We can all apply these steps to our own roles, whether we're officially in sales or we're simply trying to get buy-in for our ideas. Let's break these down one by one.
Principle number 1. Diagnose before prescribing. Daniel would never recommend a solution before understanding the problem deeply. Think about a doctor for a second. If your doctor suggests the wrong medicine without even examining you first, even if they say it with absolute confidence, they instantly lose your credibility, right? Well, great sellers are exactly like great doctors. They ask questions that uncover the hidden cost of an action. They don't just treat the symptoms, they dig down until they find the root cause.
Principle number 2, make the customer the hero. A lot of conversations accidentally make the speaker or the product the center of attention. Daniel did the exact opposite. He framed every single conversation around the customer's goals, the customer's risks, and the customer's ultimate success. The product was never the star of the show. The customer's transformation was the star. And this matters immensely because buyers don't want to feel like they're being closed. They want to feel like they're being helped.
Moving on to principle 3, sell with honesty. Now this one takes some real courage. If Daniel's solution wasn't the right fit for the client, he flat out said so. That might seem incredibly risky at first, right? You might think you're just throwing away a deal. But what it actually does is build massive trust. People remember honesty far longer than they remember smooth talk. And when customers trust your judgment enough to know you'll tell them no, they're going to completely trust your recommendations when you finally tell them yes.
And that brilliantly leads right into our 4th principle: focus on value, not features. Look, a feature is simply what a product does, and features, they're easy for competitors to copy. But value is what changes for the customer because of that product. Value cannot be easily copied. Daniel never sat down and said, "Hey, here's a list of what our software includes." Instead, he'd say, "Here's what your team gets back: time, confidence, speed, less stress, and better results." That peace of mind is what people are actually paying for.
Finally, Principle 5. The sale is the beginning. Daniel understood that a closed deal is not the finish line. It's really just the starting line for delivery, trust building, and long-term loyalty. By treating every single sale like the foundation of a future partnership, he made his customers feel safe. And in any business, safe, secure customers are the ones who become repeat customers.
So, what was the result of all this? It was truly remarkable. Daniel didn't always have the lowest price on the market. He didn't always have the longest, most impressive feature list. But he won trust more often than anyone else in the room. And ultimately, trust wins deals. Daniel's unique winning formula comes down to this: listen deeply, diagnose honestly, solve clearly, and serve consistently.
If we had to distill everything we've learned from Daniel's approach into a single sentence for this explainer, it would be this: sell less, understand more. Because when you understand people better than your competition does, you absolutely do not need to pressure them. You simply help them decide. In a world totally full of noise, understanding is a massive, quiet competitive advantage. People are going to forget your pitches, and they'll forget your product claims, but they will always, always remember the person who listened, understood, and made their incredibly complex problem feel solvable.
Which brings us to our final thought. The best salesperson isn't a persuader first. They're a problem solver, a guide, and a trusted advisor. That is the kind of sales philosophy that actually lasts. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final question to ask yourself the next time you're trying to win someone over. Are you trying to talk them into buying, or are you helping them confidently choose what they truly need? Keep that in mind, and thanks so much for joining me as we explored this fascinating shift in perspective.